Hi guys, I hope you're all having a good day today. Today's presentation will be on the iOS and Android from a usability perspective. So without further ado, let us begin. So we'll start off with a quick overview. Google's Android and Apple's iOS are the two main operating systems used for almost all the smartphones and tablets available in the market today. These two operating systems might look similar, but are very different from each other. Android is the Linux-based and partly open source. Its interface and basic features are normally more customizable. The iOS, on the other hand, has uniform design elements and is known for being more user-friendly. So we'll start off with its effectiveness. iOS and Android both use touch interfaces that have a lot in common: swiping, tapping, pinch, and zoom. Both operating systems boot to a home screen, which is similar to a computer desktop. While an iOS home screen only contains rows of app icons, Androids allow the use of widgets, which display auto-updating information such as weather and email. The iOS user interface features a dock where users can pin their most frequently used applications. A status bar runs across the top on both iOS and Android, offering information such as the time, Wi-Fi, or cell signal, and battery life. On Android, the status bar also shows the number of newly received emails, messages, and reminders. So to start off, let us start with the pros and cons of the effectiveness of an Android. Android is very good at multitasking. The notifications of Android are also very different and includes emails and updates from social sites and widgets. It is an open source system and can be customized very easily. You can choose from millions of free apps, and this is one reason for its success. Android also offers huge options in expendable storage in a wide number of phones, making the user base very large. The downside to this is that backup options are limited to specific user data, not a full clone of your phone. Without rooting, you're either left out in the wind, or you must look into the Android software development kit for solutions. Expecting casual users to either root their phone or run the SDK for a complete Android backup is very time consuming. So now that you have a good idea of what the Android has to offer in terms of effectiveness, let us proceed to the iOS's effectiveness. So to start off, iOS is one of the best in terms of UIs and updates faster than any other platform in the market today. The hardware and software of an iOS phone are both optimized and controlled by Apple, making the whole experience smoother. Apple apps are certainly better than Android, and are much far ahead in terms of quality, experience, and quantity. With a curated app store, the experience is amazing, and also there are fewer chances of malware. The support system is good, and with Apple incorporating desktop syncing in iOS and also the cloud support where a user can store 5 gigabytes worth of files automatically. The downside of this is that one of the most important drawbacks of the iOS is that you must know that it doesn't support external storage, meaning that you cannot expand the storage with the help of SD cards. The walled garden ecosystem is another con, and that means the iOS service provider has full control over the applications and content. Also, due to limited or almost no customization option, there is no scope of making any changes in the iOS. So now you can see that despite these two being very, very good operating systems, it has its flaws, which leads us to the efficiency. iOS and Android are head-to-head when it comes to performance, therefore making it very difficult for users to decipher which operating system is superior to the other. Despite this being a very debatable topic, both operating systems have their advantages and disadvantages in terms of performance. However, this does not make up for the fact that these issues will stay permanent for the users, and there will always be constant updates for both operating systems to resolve issues that may have interfered with the overall performance of the device. In terms of efficiency, we will use an example and compare the performance of Google Maps, which is available for iOS and Android, and Apple Maps, which is exclusively for iOS, and what my overall opinion of using these are to their respective operating systems. So we'll start off with Google Maps. Despite this being available for both iOS and Android, Google Maps is more of a native app of navigation for the Android operating system itself. So to start off, for the pros, the simplicity of the app is a good thing when it comes to speedy searches, as one does not have to go through some unnecessary and complex processes. The consolidated interface displays less, which is more convenient in finding the desired feature in a short time, hence time saving. It has narrowed down many general searches. For instance, restaurants and eating points can now be categorically classified according to the cuisines they offer, hence easing the process for anyone looking for a particular location. This new feature is proving to be much better and more effective compared to Yelp, which is on the verge of being phased out. It also gives you approximate time left to arrival, helping you plan your programs in advance. Opting for public transport, Google Maps gives you routes to where to find the appropriate public transport mode and cost involved. However, for the cons, as much as it brings it down to Street View, it doesn't provide enough lane information guidance, and for anyone not very familiar with the street, getting lost among lanes might be a problem. It normally does suggest for detours and some particular alternative routes to places. This limits the chances of finding out new areas and routes, and even the chance for more exploration in an area. The biggest factor of Google Maps is that it doesn't run in the background, unlike other search apps. This is a great defect that Google Maps exhibits, and in the long run, keeping it on for longer drains the battery much faster. So for Apple Maps, which is exclusively for the iOS, to start off, Apple Maps has a clear navigation screen that's free of distractions. It also shows you exactly what kind of turns are coming up. If you're headed into a roundabout, it will show you using shapes exactly where to turn. It's a little touch, but one that visual navigators will appreciate. The app also integrates with the Apple Watch, offering haptic feedback to alert you to turns. Since Apple Maps run in the background, there is less battery consumption as opposed to Google Maps, where the battery life consumption is much higher. However, the only problem with Apple Maps is that it shows you slowdowns in traffic. However, the way it focuses so much on your current location makes quickly glancing ahead at the app and seeing future problems difficult. Apple Maps is not as good about lane shifts and names of streets or where you need to turn. It's not possible to skip to the next turn like you can with Google Maps, so as to be prepared for quick successions of turns. Terrain details are very rare, while cross streets make things feel busy. Cross streets are great for learning a new city, but will become very distracting when you're trying to get from point A to point B. So like I said, everything has its flaws, but they'll always find a solution to making it better. Excuse me. So for the overall satisfaction of using both the Android and iOS operating systems are very high. It's very hard to decipher as whether if one operating system is better than the other. It's not meant to be an exhaustive comparison of every last feature, both in hardware and software of each type of phone. And we also know that die-hard fans won't be persuaded to switch either way. Sometimes it comes down to the other gadgets you or your friends and family own. For example, if you desperately want an Apple Watch, or you like the idea of a controlled, safe ecosystem, then buy an iPhone. The iPhone plays very nicely with iPads and Macs, so if you or other family members have these, you'll probably be happiest with an iPhone. If you want to wear a Google Watch, you'll have the best experience with an Android phone. Similarly, if you're technically minded or like to customize your phone, you're going to prefer Android as it's much more flexible than an iPhone. So, the overall final verdict of this presentation, now that you have a better understanding of what both operating systems have to offer, both its goods and its bads, some of you may be wondering which one you should go for. Well, it's up to you to decide. Everyone has their own opinions on certain things, and we should respect that. Some people prefer Apple, some people prefer Android, but I'm just giving you my overall and honest opinion of these two operating systems, as I own both operating systems for several devices. Now, if you're still having trouble of deciding whether to get the iOS or the Android, it's best if you try it yourself. The only way you can get a personal preference to come up to you is if you try the product itself. So I hope you guys enjoyed this and have a better understanding of what things could go wrong and how we can resolve issues of usability testing. And hopefully you learn something from that and probably get a better insight of how things work and why they are successful. So this wraps up my presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed it and have a good day.